you know, doing a lot of these news for views videos lately. And wow, a lot of gaming news is actually pretty boring.
Nintendo sticks to its annual sales forecast as Q1 operating profit dropped 7% year on year. This year's Q1 couldn't compete with last year's Tears of the Kingdom and Mario movie. Didn't the Mario movie come out in 2023? Oh wait, duh, it's 2024. Nintendo says its sales forecast for the financial year hasn't changed, despite reporting a 7% year-on-year drop in operating profit in quarter one. The company's latest financial results, which cover the period of April to June 2024, report an operating profit from $54.5 billion, $366 million for us Yanks, which is down 70.6% compared to the same period last year. Nintendo says this drop is due to the decline in gross profit and the rise in SG&A, selling, general, and administrative expenses. I'm not going to pretend like I understand any of that. I know a lot of people probably do, or other people pretend they do, but I don't. Most notably, it points out that the net sales from its video game business dropped 46.4% year on year, mainly because last year's Q1 included the release of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Well, no shit. You've dropped one of your big name titles, and people bought it, it made millions of dollars, and you haven't really dropped a lot of big name titles since then. I'm not saying there haven't been games coming out that haven't been pretty good, but Zelda was more or less just it at the time. It's kind of like the magnum opus of the Switch for most people's opinions. I mean, outside of that, the only really games that have been coming out are either like remasters or re-releases or whatever, which is all fine and good. But let's be real here, when you had Zelda last year, that was more or less probably the last big thing that was gonna bring people in to buy Switches and stuff like that. It didn't sell as much as Breath of the Wild, I believe, but you know, it still made a decent amount of money, and it still did a lot of sales. So I'm not saying anything about that, but it shouldn't be too much of a surprise at this point, because let's face it, the Nintendo Switch, I think people are really just kind of getting tired of it. They want the new system, they want the next thing, and I get it. I'm on the fence about it. I still think, in my opinion, it could take its time, because I'm not sitting here trying to figure out how to fight like bots and stuff like that, but it might not be that bad. And whether you liked it or hate it, we gotta admit the fact that the Nintendo Switch this generation brought the games. It's been a long time since they really did a big game output. I mean, the Wii U was just basically not really a lot of stuff came out for that. And a lot of people just didn't buy those games. And a lot of those games that got a re-release on the Switch outsold the Wii U version because more people bought Switches. But I do believe at this time people are just more, well, like I said, Nintendo didn't really have anything that big this year outside of a bunch of remasters or remakes. But yeah, I think at this point people are ready for new hardware. Nintendo really has nothing that much bigger coming out this year. It's pretty much coming towards winding down for the Switch, and I don't know what they're gonna have in store for the Switch 2, whatever you want to call it, but I'm interested to see what happens. But yeah, look, it's not bad. Like these game companies, they have good times and they have bad times. Okay, you know, they have there's years where they just bring out a lot of bangers in this game after game after game. There's years where there's like not a lot going on because they're working on games, and those games will probably come out in the next year or two. I mean, look what's happening over with Xbox right now. You know, they're finally catching momentum with all those acquisitions and stuff. You know, all those part companies they bought and stuff like that are finally bearing fruit. They bought them a couple years ago, and now these games are finally coming to the forefront, and it's finally going. Sony, not really having the best time right now. I don't think they're really suffering. They're doing just fine. But as far as their like first party output has been, it hasn't been that great. But hey, you know, they could still pick it up, get a few more years out of the PS5. When the PS6 comes around, they might have more stuff. They're gonna work on stuff that comes out back then. You know, every company goes through its good times and its bad times. And even in the years they exist, they have good years and bad years. Some years they got games, some years they don't. Usually the years they don't have games, they're working on the newer games, which come out in another year or two. So, you know, if I were to pick like the worst year for the Nintendo Switch, it would be 2018. They worked a lot to get the Switch for 2017, and they brought out a bunch of games. 2018, they were kind of like cooled off, but they were working on stuff like that. 2019, they picked up. 2020 is, okay. 2021 and 2022 were pretty great, especially since, you got Xenoblade Chronicles 3, in 2023 had the DLC and Breath of the Wild came out. There's also things mentioned the Mario movie. I didn't really read too much about the Mario movie in this article. I mean, I didn't look at it, but I always put links in the description in case you want to take a look at it yourself. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Nintendo did a lot last year. They're probably not doing too much for the Switch this year because they're revamping for whenever. And they said they'll have news for the next Switch sometime in Q1 of 2025, which is next year. So while there's still some stuff coming out for the Switch this year, it's pretty obvious at this point it's winding down and they're working on the next system. Hopefully, the stuff they're working on brings out the Switch 2 with a bang because they got some big shoes to fill when it comes to the next Switch system or the next Nintendo system, which is probably going to be Switch 2 or Super Switch or something like that. Hopefully they keep the Switch name, maybe they won't, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, yeah, they did alright. But, so what? They didn't make as much money this year as last year. I mean, it's not like they're suffering. They got income from the Super Nintendo world going on in some of the Universal Studios. I've been there. It's fun. And stuff like that. So they're definitely like, they're branching out beyond like video games at this point. There's movies coming out. There's a Zelda movie coming out. There's supposed to be a Donkey Kong movie. I don't know what happened to that. Haven't heard really any news on that. They're working on the next Mario movie, which they say probably won't be out until 2026. But whatever. Anyway, I don't know, for those of you who probably see this and think, oh, it's a sign they're winding down, you're probably right. I agree with you on that. But anyway, that's all I really got to say about that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bro left. What a punk, man. It's always funny when people get their one win and they just take off. Alright. So let's get this ready.
Get ready for the next battle.
It's always messed up. They'll take their win and then just run away. Like, oh, I beat you. Like, at least finish the set, man. They're like, oh, I won this match. That means I'm the total winner, so I'm gonna leave. So then they just take off. More fucking Wi-Fi guys. Come on. Alright, here we go.
Get ready for the next battle.
This is gonna suck. Not a fucking Brian player, come on. Oh, should they have, like, changed him like that? You didn't think I kicked, did ya? Let's go!
Really? One hit. Okay, maybe two.
Alright, there we go.